I secretly bought a Switch 2, and this video is really just about my experience getting one. I didn't tell anyone I was buying one. I just kind of got one and tried to hide it from the internet mostly, um, because I wanted to see what it was like to just experience the Switch 2 without people being all hyped up over, oh man, you totally got one. Let's talk about it because I got one too. Or anyone calling me a bit of a hypocrite and being mad at me for getting one earlier than I said I was going to. Um, and I thought it would be a fun experiment to see what it was like. Plus, I obviously wanted one. So, thing is, this video I'm gonna try to cut it down a bit so it's not all of my thoughts and just have some of the major ones. So feel encouraged to use the chapter select thing in the description, or that's the sections of the video, to skip ahead to things that you think sound interesting to hear about. Since it's been out for a year, most of these things you probably already heard before, so in case what I'm saying doesn't sound all that unique or interesting, even still with me cutting down my thoughts, well, then you can skip it. The main thing I'm going to start with, though, because we'll just get this out of the way, as it's probably the big takeaway, is what you want to wait for anyway, so I won't make you wait till the end of the video. Essentially, my big takeaways here are that, well, as a console, the Switch 2 is really just playing catch-up. It's kind of like everything else now. If you have a modern, Xbox or PlayStation, whether it's, Xbox One or a Series console, a PlayStation 4 or 5, or you're playing on a modern PC of some sort, it really isn't that different once you're in game with a controller in your hand. It all kind of feels the same, which in some ways is very good because on the Switch you could kind of tell that it was being held back by the power of the Switch. So this is a good catch up in that regard. However, as a handheld, this thing is incredible. The Switch was great. And then a bunch of other handhelds came out that really challenged it in the space, really encouraged that, with everyone loving what the Switch could do. And then the Switch 2 came in and became probably the best value handheld you can get. I mean, when you look at the competition for the Switch 2, as far as gaming handhelds right now, there's a lot of options, and they might be better than the Switch 2 in one way or maybe another. Like you can find handhelds that are bigger or smaller, ones that are more powerful, ones that have better battery life. You can find them that are more ergonomic. You can find ones with more games to play on there, or the ability to do more than just play games. You can find some that are even cheaper than this as well. However, the thing is, as a complete package, the Switch 2 is really, really hard to beat. I mean, yes, the battery life is a little lacking, but and maybe the ergonomics are too a bit, but it's very slim, it's very light. It performs very well as far as its performance. It performs well with performance. What a thing to say! It performs very well, and it has a lot of games on there that you'd want to play with a nice backwards compatibility with the Switch. With a great screen. It's got the ease of use as well, where you just go in and you just start playing games, and it's really focused on just being a simple device for playing games. And at the price tag of probably around $500, you know, it's really hard to beat. I don't think I've seen anything else that's a handheld at $500 that is going to give you so much bang for that buck like the Switch 2 is doing. On top of that, it also includes the dock and everything, so it is a console and a handheld at the same time, which a lot of other options require you to buy something extra to make them, a console as well. So being this hybrid system, really, they were mainly trying to one-up themselves from the Switch, and I think they did it in a very, very smart way, where they took a lot of the things that were just already great about the Switch and just made them better. Better feel, better screen, better performance. They just really did everything better and just iterated on this, and that's a good thing. So my ultimate takeaway for the Switch 2 is yes, I think this is a great system. I think Nintendo really nailed it here. Whether it's for you or not, whether other business practices are a concern or anything, I think when it comes down to it, you do kind of have to admit that the Switch 2 is an excellent system in itself, and I really can't argue with that assessment, especially after just using it myself for a few months. If I didn't mention that at the beginning, I had this for about probably 2 months or so now, and as of recording this bit, and it's good. So That's the main takeaway. But if you're still here interested in the other stuff, then stay tuned or skip around or whatever you got to do. My setup experience was probably a little different than most people's, because most people either, well, had to switch over from their original Switch and just transferred everything, or they were just coming into this for the first time. They never had any Switch consoles, so they were getting a Switch 2 as their first system. Now, I do have a Switch, so I could have transferred my stuff, but I didn't really want to deal with the whole primary, secondary console thing. So when I got my Switch 2, I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna actually just turn this on and set it up like, well, almost like a new console at first, and then just sign in with my account, and then I can go in and re-download all my stuff as needed, because essentially, while this has 256 gigs of storage in it, so that's really good. It just comes pre-built with that here, as opposed to 32 in the original Switch. The thing is, that's still only so much compared to, well, my original Switch has like a 400 gig micro SD card in it. This requires a micro SD express card, which, yeah, you can hem and haw about that a bit, like, oh, how come you have to use this different thing? But it's not like it's proprietary. It's not like you have to get, like, the Seagate expansion cards for your Xbox or anything, or, like, you don't have to get proprietary, really specific stuff for your system to make it work. Anyone can make a micro SD express card, so they have the ability to be cheaper by other brands and things and get more deals and have competition. It's just a type of micro SD card. But to forego getting one of those cards, I figured I would just download stuff as I go, and then eventually, once it gets too full, then I can get the card later and help save on some of the cost, at least initially, for the system. Setting up was pretty easy to do that way, though, as well. So if you're curious about it or wondering, it's actually very easy to set this up. Maybe you sold your Switch, maybe you got damaged or something, or lost, I don't know. And then you got a Switch 2. Well, if you have your login details, you can get all your stuff back right on here. And just kind of pick up where you left off, so it actually is very easy. And as a fun little aside, for my original Switch, like I said, well, what am I going to do with this if I don't want to do the whole, primary, secondary system thing? Well, what I'm doing is actually a different video. I'll link that in the description, either now or once that's out, whatever, where I actually made a brand new profile on here. And I essentially bought no games, I got no subscriptions, and I wanted to see what it would be like to play games on here, all free-to-play stuff, and if it was still something that was worth it and you could do with the system. A fun little experiment. So if you're curious about that, check the description. I'll probably plug it later too, but that's also a neat thing that I went with. So you have options of things that you can do. But also, with this, I didn't go totally cheap out. I did buy a few things to go along with it, so here are some of the accessories, I guess. Alright, so there's a whole bunch of accessories here, and I just kind of want to talk about how I didn't go so crazy this time with my accessories for things that I got with my Switch 2 like I did with my Switch, because there was a bunch of stuff I got for my Switch that I ended up using once and then never really again. So I tried to be a little more focused here, and also there aren't as many accessories available even yet, even though it's been out for, like a year or so. There aren't as many third-party accessories as I thought there would be for the Switch 2, so I'm a little surprised by that. So the main thing here is, one of the first things I got is a screen protector, and it's got like this etched glass thing on it. Basically, the idea behind this screen protector is just supposed to be good for like reflections. You can see some lights in there, but it's also a bit anti-glare, so it's not highly reflective. And also, it's supposed to help with fingerprints, which it does resist fingerprints decently well. You will still get them. Like if I put my hands all over it, you'll still kind of see some of those probably in there. But it does better than just more glossy screens. The only downside to this is that it does, it technically degrades the image quality a little bit. I haven't really noticed. But it does make the screen a little bit dimmer because of the way it kind of like scatters light. So you have to have the brightness up even higher, which means it'll eat your battery even more if you want it to look the same level of brightness. Also, hey, this kickstand's pretty good. So that was my main one. You can probably see on my Joycons over here, I've got these little like nubs on them for the controls. Oops. Yeah, the little stick grips. Those aren't standard. I put those on They came in this little pack here of 3 different kinds. I have the convex ones on there. There's a concave set. And also then just the skin grips, which are just mostly a grip. And they're pretty nice for making your sticks feel just a little bit better. I mean, the Joy-Cons already are pretty good. I like the way they feel. The material is great and everything. And they're easy to hold. These buttons on the ends of them are good. So it's easier to actually just manipulate these and use them. Though they are a bit cramped with the buttons still in here. And this really makes it only a little bit worse because it's harder to hit, down here. Because this is kind of in the way. So your thumb is naturally not going to hit it very well. And the minus button is very hard to hit because it's way up here, and you're like, oh man, it's hard to get around this when your thumb's down here. So, not perfect. You also notice these are like magnetic now as well, so they'll connect like this. Well, the original Joy-Cons, the interesting thing is that they will work. You can wirelessly connect these to them, but obviously since they have the slidey things on the ends, they're not magnetic. They can't just clip in here. So basically, if you want these to connect and also charge, there is an accessory for that. I didn't get it because I don't have that many regular Joy-Cons, and if I have problems with these, I probably would just get more of the Joy-Con 2s instead of going for these. If you like the ergonomics of these and the feel and everything, they're a little bit smaller and a little bit flatter on this edge. Maybe you'll go for them. I don't know. They are compatible, as is the original Pro Controller, though things are not backwards compatible. So you can't use like the Joy-Con 2s or the Pro Controller 2 on the original Switch. And I will also just quickly, to cap off these little tips, I will say that the thumbstick grips, I probably will not keep using them. While they do give an extra bit of color to these, and they're actually not that bad to get on, and they're a little harder to get off here if I can even do it on camera. But they work and they're good. They just they leave something to be desired in handheld mode. Where basically, if I really want that extra oomph, again, these sticks naturally are better than the Switch 1 or Joy-Con 1 sticks naturally. If I really want that oomph, on my system, on my sticks, I'm probably just going to use a Pro Controller most of the time. And I think the question also is well, what if you want to play in handheld mode, but you still want to have, that feel of those nice sticks? Well, I thought of that. You know how the original Switch has this thing? Where I've got a clamp that clamps onto the Pro Controller, and you can hold your Switch in that. That's cool. It's a bit heavy, but it works, and if you want the Pro Controller feel in handheld mode, there really is no substitute for that. Well, I ended up getting one for the Switch 2 as well. So I have this, and here's my clamp, and we'll just throw this on here while I'm live. Why not? Also, fun fact, you can also accidentally put your Joy-Cons on the wrong way. And, I mean, I don't know when you will ever want to do this, but with the power of magnets, you may. So let's just slap this thing in here. It's a bit of a weird fit on this. I didn't find too many grips online either. This was actually a really hard accessory to find. So it must be a rather niche thing, but it's just kind of scissors. You just kind of slap it in there. Ooh, if I can get it all the way in. Come on. It's not the most elegant piece of equipment. And then you'll put the controller down here, and you have to line these things up. And because of the buttons on the controller, you have to I have to actually manually push this in, the other one works a little better. But once it's in, you can put it in there and use that, and you have it for handheld play. And it does work pretty well. Again, it's very heavy. The Switch 2 is a heavier system, so this is even heavier, pushing all the weight down in the middle of your hands like this. So maybe you can find different positions where it's a bit more comfortable for you, but it actually does work pretty well. So I was definitely surprised that this was actually a totally viable option for me to use. And again, I will probably do stuff like Splatoon. I'm probably going to play Splatoon games like this, or any shooters. I'd rather play like this than with just the actual Joy-Cons on there, even though these are more comfortable. Also, I got the GameCube controller to play the GameCube online games, since I do have the expansion pass. I'm not the biggest fan of the GameCube controller. I'm not one of these people that's like, oh, it's the greatest controller ever. It's like a less good modern controller. It has a dinky D-pad and a dinky joystick. button layout is a little weird, but not weird enough to make it feel super unique, just kind of annoying to me. So certain GameCube games are going to probably require that button layout. Other games, that layout is going to be a problem. More modern games, no clicking of the sticks, no double, like, there's a Z, but there's not like a ZL, ZR kind of thing going on, right? So, like, I don't know, there's limitations to it. It's not a bad controller by any means. I just am not as crazy about it as most of the internet. The other thing I'll mention, as long as I'm here talking about accessories and things, like I mentioned, the different controllers are compatible, cross-compatible from, like, the old controllers to the new ones, but not the new ones to the old. The Switch 2 Pro controller is fantastic. I really wanna just push that. It is $90. It is an expensive controller, but you are getting some awesome stuff here. Like the feel of this thing is so much nicer. It's a more premium feel. Its look isn't perfect. Like I will show you quickly if I can, if it's going to show on camera here. The one stick, if the shine will hit it just right there, you can see like this stick is it's a little damaged cosmetically, and that's because it had a little bit of something on there, and I tried to scratch it to get that off, and then I just ended up scratching the whole thing up. I don't feel that when my finger goes across it or anything. They feel the same. They feel smooth, but like visually you can see that. But so far the rest of this, at least for now, is held up to my finger grease and everything, so we'll see how long that lasts. The two-tone is really nice. All the buttons just feel a little bit nicer than the regular Switch Pro controller. I guess the GameChat button. It has these back grip buttons that I like that the option is there. I never use them. Games don't really require them or like have like extra functions you can put to them. It's usually just remapping an existing function to them, which I don't much care for. But I like that they're more flush with the controller back as well, so you can just kind of like, you can ignore them, and then if you don't have them mapped to anything, then when you accidentally hit them when you're just holding your controller, they won't do anything, which is good, because I do that often. And then the main thing I really love about this controller, the new edition, which is like here, you get the headphone jack, so you can plug in wired headphones. I use my Sony MDR7506, like nice wired headphones in these all the time. I did that with my Xbox controller as well, so I'm glad Nintendo is finally catching up and doing that in their controller as well. Love that. If you could use this on the Switch, I would have got one of these for that earlier too, but oh well. It's a really, really great feature. It's probably a bit underrated because a lot of people will just use Bluetooth headphones, connect to that, and not really worry about it, but I like my nice wired headphones, and it's a really great option, also for headsets and other things as well. In fact, just generally with other accessories, it's really awesome that you can plug in like your own headsets, your own like mice if you want to use mouse mode. You can plug in your own webcams for using webcam stuff. You don't have to use the specific Nintendo specific ones or anything to do stuff. I think that's awesome that they're being more open with this stuff. Really, really nice to see. Oh yeah, I was also going to quickly mention that the Pro controller has still, if it's even lighter than the original Pro controller. And this one also it's even lighter than the original and has the same like battery life. It lasts a really long time, which is excellent. Probably because there's no crazy RGB. It's got some nice HD rumble in it and stuff, so it does have some better stuff in there. So some of it won't depend on how much it rumbles and everything too, but it's excellent. I've really, really liked it. Also, I'll mention quickly that the Switch 2 also features a nice thing where it does have on the bottom here, it has the USB-C port on the bottom. It also has one on the top, so you can plug in more accessories. Oh, sorry, I had to flip it around. On the bottom and on the top. So you can do it in, I'm sure that wasn't in focus, but like you can do that, so you can plug in stuff in both ends of that. That's really nice. I mean, I don't know, just overall construction of this thing, the materials on the stuff, everything's great. I'm very happy with a lot of this. As long as we're here talking about this, let's do a quick talk about some of like the things with Joy-Cons as well. In fact, maybe a quick jump cut for this. So the Switch 2 came with one of these grips just like the first Switch did, but these you just kind of slot into here on the sides with the magnets, which snap in nice. They feel pretty good. I think you'd have to be pretty rough to make the magnets be a problem here. And again, the materials feel nice. The look is very nice and everything. I like that. This feels a little not as good as the rest of it, but it's not bad. The stuff around the back is good. It makes it a little more ergonomic for you if you want to play and you don't want to spend the money on a Pro controller. You can do this, and it's something. It's serviceable, I guess. But here's the thing. When we go and do it with the Switch 1 stuff, toss that in there. toss that in there. Right. Here's the thing. This feels better. And the reason that this feels better is just because of the design, I think, around the sides here. You're mostly just touching this round bit here, and so like your hands just it feels pretty normal and natural. It's still a little bit, not quite as big and bulbous and like not quite a pro controller, but it would get the job done. However, this one is kind of uncomfortable, mainly because this like divot in here, you can see that, it just kind of divots weirdly right there because it's just all flat. So your hand is kind of like sitting in this weird, like over this crack on the sides, and it just doesn't feel. It should have been molded up higher, but they kind of couldn't because you have to slide these in rather than put them down. So they maybe should have thought of something that can kind of like fold in on them or something, or attach a different way. I don't know. It's again better than just holding them separately. I think for me, if that's all I had, I would make do. But it just feels a little less good, which is kind of surprising. I'll probably just splice in the old footage I had. I had a couple clips from when I originally was testing stuff out about the controller grips for the original Joy-Cons and the Switch 2 Joy-Cons. The only other thing I want to quickly mention here is this little GameChat button on this Joy-Con. I always accidentally hit that when I'm trying to hit the home button. It is a different shape. It's a little more recessed and stuff, but it's just... I still end up hitting it a lot, whereas at least on here, on the controller, it's down in the bottom where you're never going to accidentally hit it. So I do kind of prefer that personally, but oh well. And then yeah, I probably showed off the thing with those, and if I didn't show it yet, here's a little clip of me using my own mouse. The other thing you can do though, which is kind of neat, is that you can just straight up plug in your own mouse, like I have here. Now I do have to use an adapter on this particular mouse because it's not USB-C, but it is a wired one, and you can totally just plug it in. And boom, and you see it's lit up now, so this thing's on, and look at it, moves. So I would recommend using your own mouse, which is also really cool that you can do that. You can just plug in your own accessories. I think that's a really, really cool thing in general, but I just have this in the controller section rather than accessories because it's still a controller, and this definitely feels better than the Joy-Con trying to do it. So you have options. I probably won't be getting the whole mouse attachment thing for the Joy-Con thing because I don't think I need a piece of plastic sitting over the top of that to make it still, basically work the same. This will eat probably more battery because this has lights in it and stuff, but it is an option that you have. And they're also, you can plug that in while it's charging because they have 2 USB-C ports, right? Very cool. So that's neat. And I think that's all I have for all the controller and accessory things. I rambled longer than I thought I would. But I just had a lot to say because I only got a few things, but there's a lot of stuff to cover with stuff I already had as well. Interesting. So yes, all of your Switch 1 stuff is going to work on Switch 2. That's awesome. That's a huge thing, especially for people who have like 8 zillion Joy-Cons. You can still use them. All these special edition controllers, you can still use them. It's a very friendly console. It really wants to be an upgrade to your Switch. And also, it's unfortunate it doesn't want to augment your Switch, but... yeah, I guess I have one other thing with the Joy-Cons to mention here, so I guess we'll make that the next part. Joy-Cons and battery life. These two things are kind of related in a way that I feel like these are two issues that could have been solved by sort of the same solution. So, like, I do like this is nice and thin and sleek and all, with it done this way. But as people have brought up, it's not the most ergonomic thing. Many people wanting to get extra grips and cases and things to add a bit of ergonomics to their Joy-Cons so it's easier to hold them. Or I guess Joy-Cons 2, however you want to say it. The Switch 2 Joy-Cons. And that would be nice. Another thing is that the Switch 2 definitely has a battery life problem. It doesn't have the greatest battery life. So if you want it to do well, you have to turn off a lot of its features, which is not great. We'll talk more about that later, but we could kind of solve those things if there was two-way charging. Right now, they don't have that. So basically, if you have your Joy-Cons 2 plugged into your Switch 2, and the Switch did this as well with its Joy-Cons, essentially, it's only one-way charging. So basically, when you have them attached, the Joy-Cons are going to just sap battery from the system constantly to try to keep them at 100%, even when the system is going to die. which is kind of a problem because usually when you have this out here and you're playing handheld mode, you want to have more playtime, not less. Having two-way charging would make it so that you could have it. I mean, you could probably set it up which way you want, right? Because there are scenarios when you may want that to happen. If you have, you're playing at home and you're like, oh man, well now my Joy-Cons are still fully charged. I can just plug in my console and have that go, and keep using the Joy-Cons as controllers while it's docked or something, right? Like, sure, I guess. But have the option to also do the two-way charging, because when you're out and playing handheld mode, you could actually have these try and detect the battery level between the console and the controllers, and just have it try to keep them even, so that, well, basically the problem being that, yes, if my console dies, I can't really play with the fully charged Joy-Cons anymore anyway, so it doesn't really make much sense to do it that way. I think having them just try to stay equal would be a really good way to help extend battery life in general as well, because you're just adding this much more battery to the ends of it. And that being said, if they could create an ergonomic Joy-Con that's like this, but just bigger and bulkier, so you have something to hold on to here, right? By doing that, not only would you make it more ergonomic for people who want that as an option, but you would also end up with more space to put battery in these. And again, even further extend the battery life of the system. I think these both would have been really, really smart decisions to throw out there. Again, as options, not as a default necessarily, or package with the thing. But the fact that they don't do that is kind of a shame, and it's a little bit of a misstep. And if anything, if there was like a Switch 3 or some kind of revision, this would be a huge thing. And maybe they could still implement it through software. I'm not sure if that's something they can just do or not. But that would be a really cool idea, because doing that, I think, would go a long way to solve both of these problems with a rather simple idea. I mean, it might be hard to implement, I have no clue. But it would be an interesting fix for this problem. All right, to briefly address GameChat, a feature that I haven't really used, to be honest. The thing is, I think I get it. Like, so I'm probably not going to use GameChat because I use Discord, and most people are probably going to use things like that, other third-party chatting apps, as they just give them more freedom than GameChat will. But I understand GameChat in the sense that it's a Nintendo-hosted service that's an alternative to those things that, isn't open to all of the internet. Kind of similar to their Nintendo Today being safer than going on to something like X, or Nintendo Music being a bit more controlled than something like all of YouTube Music or Spotify or whatever. Basically, what you're doing is it's just having more parental control. It's for kids, and I think that it's totally fine, honestly, in that sense, because, yeah, it looks really dumb to anybody who's, like, an adult gamer, or even if you're just in your teens, you think this is silly, but, it makes sense for kids and parents who want to keep their kids away from that kind of thing. I get it. I see it. I also want to say that while GameChat looks pretty terrible from everything I've seen, promotional stuff, even when they have, like, the best environments possible to use it, it still looks like the cameras are low quality and laggy. There's only so much you can do with your own, camera resolution and things. It seems like they're trying to prioritize things like making sure your voice gets through well enough, and also trying to prioritize all of the bandwidth and everything for actually playing. And I also want to give them props for that. They're not trying to, give you the best performance out of your camera and microphone necessarily. They want it to be good enough to communicate while you play games with your friends, and make sure the gameplay is not hindered by the service. So I will give it a little bit of credit there and say it's not as bad as I initially thought when I heard about it and saw it. I just don't know that I'll ever use it. However, I would like to test it. So if I do end up testing it before I put out this video, I'll just slap the footage in here at the end of this of my thoughts on that. And if I don't do it, then I won't. And it's mostly for kids, parental controls kind of thing. So don't feel bad if you miss out on it. Don't feel like it's a must-have feature. I don't know that it required a whole dedicated button on the controller, but what are you going to do? Alright, this is just a quick update to just mention that I did try out the GameChat feature, and I will say I'm actually pleasantly surprised. I'm impressed that it works probably even better than I saw in the ideal scenario of when they first, advertised it. Because the demo of it when they were announcing this thing looked pretty choppy and bad, and it actually worked a lot better than that. The smoothness was there. The cam seemed to work pretty well. The mics worked pretty well. I probably have the screenshot on the screen and give you somewhat of an idea. It like kind of auto green screened you out in a way that doesn't look necessarily like great or anything, but it looks pretty good for just a free thing to slap on there or whatever. I mean, it's part of your subscription, I guess, but it's as just a thing that it just does without you doing much other than turning that on. That's pretty good. So it can kind of put you on top of your gameplay, and so people can see stuff. You can see all your friends with cameras or with games. You can turn on and off things like your camera, your game share, or your microphone. There's even like a little text chat thing where you can do like, I don't know if you can even just type or not, maybe. I don't know. We tried with that, maybe that's showing on the screen now or not. I don't know if I'll use that shot, but there's like a thing where you can like turn it on so people will be talking and it'll just like translate that text or translate that into text so you can see that. Doesn't do it perfectly, but it does admirably well to get the idea. And the way I did it basically was I mostly just watched Furf play Chibi Robo, and while stuff looks a little choppier on the little screens with cameras and gameplay, on the screen share thing, if you just expand their view of one person's game, particularly if you're not playing, you can't do that at the same time, but if you expand someone else's game and just watch them, you can see like their stuff. You get the audio from it, you can see it really smoothly, the actual gameplay and everything is really good. There's maybe like a slight delay, but it's really not that noticeable. I thought it was really good. I was surprised how well it worked. And I basically just watched that like I used to play like games when my brother would play games, and I would watch that. I basically just did that, and that was really fun. I really enjoyed that. So it does work just fine for that kind of stuff. And surprisingly, it just works surprisingly well and better than it used to. So I think they've got some of the kinks worked out with some of the performance and stuff, I think, from that. Though, again, it doesn't look amazing. The drawbacks to this are that it's I'll quickly say a couple other good things. They do have a lot of privacy features as well. Like, you have to select who from your friends list you want to be able to turn on chats with. So that's a thing. So it's not just your entire friends list. You can select to have it not show your homepage if you don't want to. It automatically will not show the screen for things like your store pages. If you go to the eShop, it will not show that. If you go to your like friend list, it won't show that. Just automatically by default. And then you can turn off your home screen if you don't want people to see that. So it is pretty privacy focused and making sure you're talking with your friends that you want to talk to and not just opening yourself up to everybody on your friends list. So it's more like locked down and secure and safe in that sense. As far as drawbacks, it obviously is more limited than something like Discord or something where you're going to have better quality of your cameras and your microphones and stuff. Those are probably going to be smoother, and you have more options of, not only who you can talk to, but, you have more options of like how you want to integrate things and what you're doing at the same time, what you're going to share, all that stuff. But understanding this is more about safety and security and stuff like that, and it's more for kids. That stuff, is fine. What is a bit of a hurdle is setting it up. You probably do want to have like a parent or something set it up. It is just kind of weird hoops of like having to go to a QR code thing and assign into a thing and do accept stuff and permissions. And then when you're going to go set things up to actually, before you do chats, it kind of is a pain because you can't configure things like your camera or your microphone or anything before you create a chat room. You have to make a chat room and then do it, so people could jump in before you're even ready to really do it. That's also kind of a pain. And there's not an insane amount of options, but there are kind of a lot of options for tweaking little things, more than I thought there should be. So again, this does seem like maybe it's more of like a thing for parents to do that stuff, or for like, the more tech-savvy kids to do, if you want to be able to use that kind of thing, if you're going to use it more reliably, or, for people who maybe don't have other options of like a computer and Discord and these other things, maybe it's just another option for talking to people all baked into the system. It is nice to have there, I suppose. And like I said, yes, it doesn't look that good either. Visually for some of the stuff, like you can have like just yourself on screen with your camera, or do just your voice, or just like your game sharing thing or whatever. You can do that stuff. So it's nice to have those different options, but you can't I don't know, the visuals when you're sharing your stuff like that. Unless it's in the dedicated expanded view or something, is going to be kind of low quality and choppy. Your mic is going to sound better on a computer, but it's still totally listenable. Your camera's going to probably look better on a computer, but still viewable, even if it's choppy. And gameplay's probably going to look better sharing through a computer, maybe. Unless it's an expanded view, and then it's probably going to look better than sharing your screen via Discord, from my experience. There are sometimes some weird little lag spikes and stuff, but honestly, not that bad. So, this is not meant to be a big dragged out review of GameChat, but I didn't think I would even use it. Also impressed that I could, plug in my own headset through the microphone, the headphone jack, the audio jack, and then I could also plug in a USB camera, and they weren't, specifically like, these are made for Nintendo, and they just worked. That's great. I plugged them in handheld mode and used it for that for a little bit, and then I actually just docked it without doing anything else, just slid it into the dock, and it kept working like that, which is awesome. It's great. So it's very smooth. They've done a really good job of making it just work pretty easily, even though there's maybe a lot you want to tweak and fine tune, and it's a little hard to set up. Once you have it set and everything's good to go in your space, it's actually really easy to just, turn it on and use it. So it is a really cool option, even if I don't know that I'll use it a ton. It is a pretty cool feature. So yeah, it's not the big piece of crap that I thought it was going to be. That was only there for the added safety and security features. It also is a decently competent option for playing games with your friends online. Apologies for my weird position behind the camera here for the audio here, but let's try powering this off completely and then just booting it fresh, because I want to show you how fast it can boot from there. I guess I didn't do a direct test for this yet. I mostly did it from sleep, but now that it's off, turn it back on, boom. And I feel like this boots pretty fast is really what I'm trying to get at here. And boom, it's that. Nice splash screen there. And boom, we're already in. It's not connected to the internet yet, but it's in. And even if you do it from sleep mode, I'll go put it to sleep, boom, go to sleep, and then turn it back on. Boom. It's very fast. It's very fast. But the other little thing I will mention too is I like that when you have it in the dock, is that you can then I'll wait for that to kind of go off for a second. I'll try to hit power here. I really like the little startup chime. It's really nice. I'll turn that back off. However, the dock itself, unfortunately, while it looks okay visually, the problem is it's very cheap. It's very cheap and plasticky, which is weird because the Switch 2 system itself feels very nice and premium, so it's weird that the dock is where they really cheaped out on how it feels. It's not it functions just fine, but it really feels like much cheaper plastic, like they didn't want you to really get up close and see this thing. So I thought I would just mention that. Now, the Switch 2 is great, but it does have a few issues, and I think I have three main issues. So, first of all, right out of the gate, right out of the box, you got the screen protector thing. So, essentially, when you get it, it has a film over it. Now, that's something that you're not supposed to remove because that could actually damage it. The idea behind this film over the screen is that it's supposed to be for protection, but it's not it's scratch resistant or anything. It's just there for shatter protection, so that if you do drop it or something and the screen breaks, that the glass will be caught by that film and not just spray out everywhere and be dangerous. I don't know why they decided to make that material not scratch resistant. It's actually pretty soft. I've seen some horror stories of people who just left their Switch in the dock even. Sorry, their Switch 2 in the dock even, and it got, scratched from that, just bumping it and stuff in there, and it would wiggle enough, and then it would just be scratched when they got it. And putting on a screen protector for minor scratches can kind of fill in those gaps and sort of smooth it over, but I wouldn't want to risk it. And I don't know why Nintendo didn't just put on, either make that stuff also scratch resistant in the first place, so you wouldn't have to worry about this and wouldn't need to also get a screen protector, or if they would have also just included a screen protector on top of it, or at least in the box for you to apply if nothing else, it's weird that they would just release it with something that is so easy to scratch. I don't like that idea. And maybe other people have had better luck and have had it this whole time and have never had it be scratched without putting anything extra on there. And that's really great for people who are all lucky like that. There are also people who have used Joy-Cons and never had them drift. That doesn't mean that it wasn't a widespread problem, so I'm not really very happy with that, and that scared the shit out of me, and that's why I had to get a screen protector right away, because I was just too damn afraid that this, not inexpensive device could so easily be scratched and then just immediately look like crap. Which is something I really wasn't even that worried about with the original system either. So, I mean, I did get a screen protector for it, but damn. Another one is, of course, like I've already mentioned earlier, and as many have mentioned, the battery life. The battery life is not very good on the system. It's not terrible. I think it's probably good enough for most, regular handheld sessions to play stuff, and you'll be able to get it done. Obviously, more tasking hardware can be more tasking on the actual amount of, battery usage. But in general, it'll last, some number of hours. That's like, if it lasts 4 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours, somewhere in that ballpark, depending on what you're doing and what your settings are, that's not bad, I guess. But if you're out traveling or something, that's not really going to cut it, which is where you're going to have to get third-party solutions of charging cases or power banks or something like that. And that's just not something I think is really fair to make people want to fiddle with. It's not everyone that's going to be traveling with these either, so I guess putting some of that burden on someone else is probably understandable. But even so, I think that the battery life starting out this poor means that it's only going to degrade and get worse over time, meaning that eventually it's only going to last maybe an hour or two for the average user to even use it, and that's going to become a problem as far as its use as a handheld, and that is a big issue. Again, my whole idea of having two-way charging with Joy-Cons and making big battery ergonomic Joy-Cons was a nice idea to be a solution for that. I also noticed that I actually left this in sleep mode, not in the dock, well, it's weird because sometimes it's okay and sometimes it isn't. Sometimes the battery doesn't drain that much, but I've had other times where the battery went down like 10% just overnight. Not using it all day or whatever, coming back, like turning it off at night, then going to work the next day, coming back home and playing it, and it's just drained, 10% of battery already. If you're using it on a trip or something, that's 10% of battery is going to be a significant amount of playtime when you consider how long it only lasts right now. And you can get it to work better, but then you have to turn down settings like, turn down your brightness so it's harder to see, or, turn down its the performance on it and make it just, not perform as well. Turn off boost mode, a really cool mode that makes your Switch games in handheld mode play as if they're docked. Really cool, but it eats more battery. We have to turn that mode off too if you want to save more battery. And well, I don't see much point in having all these great features if you have to turn them off to get the battery life to be what they're claiming it to be. So that's another sticking point that I feel like could still be remedied and fixed in some way, perhaps with a new iteration or extra accessories or clever software usage, but we'll see what happens there. My third thing is with the whole anti-piracy measures, which is not really super like just this thing or anything, but it's where they're really enforcing it is on the Switch 2, where essentially a lot of people have talked about getting locked out of their accounts because essentially people, when they're buying like secondhand games, because the people have dumped those games on their systems, sold them, and then when people are trying to play these games at the same time as someone who dumped their file on theirs are playing it, it's reading the exact same ID for that game, connecting to the online servers, and since two people can't possibly have the exact same copy at the exact same time, then they realize that someone has pirated it, and both accounts get shut down because they don't know who actually owns it. You have to go in and prove it and unlock yourself. I've not had this happen. I really hope it doesn't happen. It also means that you probably don't want to buy used Switch games for sure. The used market is going to be a very scary place for these if this is something they keep in place. I think they should lessen this and make it so it's not so difficult, it's not so immediate, it's not so bad on you to have it. I don't know. I think there's probably ways to go about it that are probably better than this, and I don't like that it's more or less forcing you to either buy new or buy digital to avoid this. So those are kind of my big sticking points with the system. Like I said, it's not all sunshine and roses, and while there's other little nitpicks for certain things, like certain buttons or ergonomic things or whatever, for the most part, I think those are the only things that were major issues for me, where I was like, these are probably worth mentioning if you have apprehensions on these. Those are the things to know. Those are probably going to be some of the the biggest shortcomings, so to speak. Well, I think that's pretty much all I really have to say here. I mean, like I mentioned in the beginning, it's a great system, and I am really happy that I got one, even if I didn't wait for the stuff I said was gonna make me get one, like a Banjo 3 or a Splatoon 4 or my Switch breaks. I really just got it because, well, I just got motivated to do so. I wanted one, and I mean, I wasn't really that disturbed by the whole price hike thing from 450 to 500 looming. I really wanted to get another piece of tech and play around, and I knew eventually I would want to play stuff anyway. So, like many others, I just talked myself into it, and I'm very happy with it. As far as actual Switch 2 games that are I couldn't play on my Switch, I really only played Power Wash Simulator 2, which I could have played on Xbox or something. I mean, I also got Yuka Replayly for like $1 on Panax. What a deal! Check out the site today. But no, it's I'm not sponsored. It was $1 for people who were members or whatever. So I already played that on my Xbox anyways before I got a Switch 2 or even knew I was going to get one. So, I don't know. There's other stuff I can play now, but I also wanted to be secretive. I wanted to get something that was on other platforms so it was believable that I could talk about it and I was playing it, but people wouldn't necessarily know that I was playing it on a Switch 2. That was part of my secrecy, was I had to make sure nobody could see things or hear things or be led on by things I was talking about in conversations to know that I actually did get one of these and understand that, which was a little harder than I thought because I was so excited and I had so much to say. Hopefully, we'll see if any of the footage I got during my actual initial setting up and playing around with things makes it into here. That wasn't the greatest footage of things, but maybe it'll be interesting for my first impressions, along with these 2 cents of me looking back on this later. But I'm still very happy with my Switch 2. Feels premium, very, very nice, and it plays very well. It's basically just replacing my Switch for all intents and purposes, and I'm definitely okay with that. The battery problem aside, I'm not going to be out traveling a bunch anyway, so it largely won't affect me, as I can always just plug it in when I'm sitting at home. If I really need to, it'll just be tethered sometimes versus being totally free, and I don't know, I couldn't ask for much more myself. I think it's pretty damn good. So, thanks for watching, and if you want more content similar to this, well, I planned this really smoothly. I also have another video on my Switch, which I did the experiment of essentially setting this up with a brand new account. Bought no games, no subscriptions. Great kickstand on it. Oh, excellent kickstand on this thing. And I wanted to see if it was possible, or not possible, I guess, if it was actually any good to just get a Switch and spend no extra money on it, and if it would still be worth playing at that point. And with the price of everything going up, maybe getting a Switch, even with its price going up, might be a better deal if you could find a used or refurbished one for a bit cheaper, maybe even a Switch Lite. So if you're curious on what you can do with the free-to-play games there, it's a little more rough around the edges kind of video for that too, but it's a more realistic look of just what I did. So if you think that'll be interesting in any way, you can check that out. There's a little peek at some of the games I've been playing so far, and I'll link that in the description once that's ready, and you could watch that for even more Switch-related content. Are we calling this the Switch family of systems, or is the Switch 2 not part of the family? Sometimes with the naming schemes that Nintendo does, I don't really know, but it's been a fun bit of experimentation between these two systems doing different things, and hopefully you at least found this somewhat interesting of a video, and not just rehashing all the things you've already heard people say over the past year or so of the Switch 2 being out anyways. Also, one other note, since this actually just arrived today, and it's pretty impressive to me that Nintendo managed to make the Switch 2, even though it's a larger system, fit into an even smaller box than the original Switch. So I don't know if the dock is that much smaller, or they just like Tetrised things into here in a more wise manner. I don't know. I also haven't opened it yet, so who knows if it's even working. It might just be a bunch of pieces inside of a box that broke in transit. I have no clue. Ooh. Oh, yeah. Oh, that feels nice. You know, will it continue to feel nice after I get my greasy hands on it for hours? Maybe. The other ones still feel good. What in crap's name is... Oh. Oh. Is this the bottom? Oh, that is the bottom. Okay, so that's a funny thing about this. I was looking at the bottom of the dock and I saw all these holes and stuff. I'm like, wow, that looks like the top of my Xbox Series X. And, oops, and then never be able to get it back on. Cool. Ugh, that doesn't feel good. Oh, it's not in. Now it's in. It still doesn't feel good, but no, it's not in. Am I doing it wrong? How do I put you back in here correctly? Oh, is there a little tab thing or something am I missing? Or? I think about this bottom part is not going in. Oh, I think I got it? Yeah, so you gotta get the bottom tabs in first. Idiot doesn't know how to put a thing on a thing. I don't know if you guys saw any of that, but so that's the crap. Glad I recorded it. I'm still annoyed that they don't have this available for the first Nintendo Switch. Oh, there's shit on them. God damn it. Okay, one second. Stupid. The Switch box didn't have the stupid plastic thingies on the corners. Stupid bastards. I want to make sure I didn't steal the controllers because they went up in price. I have returned. For those of you wondering what you missed, I used a key to open this because my scissors were too thick to get into this one, and then I just kind of pried at the other side until I could take that sticker off. And I also swore. Maybe there's a manual, but I don't think I would need one to use it. Just like, turn it on. Dumbass. Wait, what the fuck? They have little buttons on the down here too? I didn't know they had G buttons on them. What? Did those do something different? Okay, well that was the controller. Was that interesting? I doubt it. I took my lights down and stuff. I didn't realize I should have filmed this part. So I was just curious because these are magnetic. Apparently you can put them on the wrong way. It's upside down and backwards. And it let me do it, which I'm like, why would you never need that? I don't think you will. Do they just come... How do you take them off? Do they just come off? Do I have to pull them in a certain way? Does it just take a lot of force to get them off? Shit. I think it does. Oh my god. Okay. Well, it's good to know I didn't break it. Immediately. Oh my god, they are on there pretty good though. I mean, you still feel a little wiggle. But, shit. Well, lesson learned. You can do that, but don't. Okay, looking at the manual, I made a discovery that many people probably already knew. But there's a thing back here, this little thing. There's a detach button. You can push that, and you can detach the Joy-Cons. So it's easier to get them off than I thought. Just push the little thing out, so you don't have to like pull them terribly hard to get them off of there. It'll be good to know in the future. Jesus. That was good, I accept that. Oh, right, you just have to, you don't have to slide, you can just pop them in. Theoretically. Got them. Nintendo. TV. Never. Alright, so here's a fun little hack that I found, I guess, that I didn't realize you could do. So I had some Nintendo eShop cards. I had a couple of these hanging out, so I finally redeemed those for this because I was gonna get, since I have the expansion pass anyways, I'm like, well, I should get the GameCube controller to play the GameCube games. I got this, as you can see there, that's from my Nintendo account balance, because I bought it on here. And so, basically how this worked was, you know, I've seen online that you can't use eShop cards for hardware, but I don't know if that's still true. It may be a regional thing as well, but basically I went in and as I was going to go buy it, it said my account balance, so I put in my codes on here, and then it just added the balance to my Nintendo account and then my Nintendo store, and then it let me do this. So it's possible that if you go to get a Switch 2, it may not let you because it's a hardware thing, maybe. If this is a hardware thing too, though it is a piece of hardware, but it also is tied to your membership, so I don't know if that makes it different. I honestly have no idea. But at least for the GameCube controller and perhaps other things on the eShop, you can totally do this. So that's pretty cool, actually. So if you wanted to, if you wanted a little hack there, you had some gift cards laying around and you didn't necessarily want to get games with them, but you had some of these pieces of hardware that you would like to get that are, expensive otherwise, that might be an option for you. Also, here's a silly, petty, nitpicky thing, but hey, Nintendo, listen up. You got a nice brand new system here, and all you're giving us under the themes page is basic light and basic dark. I mean, everybody loved the 3DS themes. I'm not saying go super crazy with customization, but throw some stuff out here with our IPs so we get some, a little picture in the background to look at. Some custom sounds and we click on things that fits with the franchise. Maybe even music playing in the background if you want. And have these things somewhat customizable too if you want those things on or off and whatever, sure. Or even just give us basic other themes, like give us a blue, a red, a yellow, a green, whatever. Like something like that, so you have a little more customization. It will go a long way. And also it would be a nice way to tide people over while they're waiting for more games. But, just a thought. Alright, I just want to see if we can get this monster in the shot. Look at this. This is actually probably one of my favorite Switch accessories. And I just gave this a quick test to see if this is going to work. So this thing just barely fits the Switch 2. Like, I had to stretch this as far as it could go to, like, fit this. It barely snapped in there. It's not built for this, and I couldn't find many things online for actual, like, I think some people have 3D printed some, but I haven't found any real good, like, I found like one clamp for the new controller, because the other controller is a totally different molding. Let me grab that quick, actually. The Switch 2 Pro controller only just have this weird button down there that is going to be interfered with anyways. So really hitting that, but then you've got like the top parts is not going to fit. It's just a bigger controller. It's not going to work. Oh man, but this doesn't. Yeah, this doesn't move very much. Like the cable drags it. Oh, that kind of sucks. Honestly, that does not feel good. Oh. Amazing. That's almost better than I do with a legitimate mouse. Can I connect a real mouse just on the fly, or do I have to do that before I do this? And I know you're seeing the NES mouse in front of you, and you're like, why don't you use that? Well, it's wireless, and I don't know if that will work as well as a wired mouse. I've heard some wireless mice don't work very well with that. So I'm going to try to wire this in. Now, this isn't a USB-C mouse, but I do have this little adapter here that I'm going to steal from that very mouse. So we'll just put this into here. And you probably are supposed to use it in the dock for this. So let me just put it in the top here. Is that in there? Yeah. Oh, hey, it recognizes that on the mouse itself. Oh my god, you can. Okay, so that feels a bit better. Some of this is probably just the sensitivity in general, but you can totally use... Oh, that's actually really cool. I will say that fun thing, I didn't know that the dash, if you hold that without the dash boots, you also still just run. I didn't realize you would go slightly faster. I don't think I ever knew that. The only thing I was going to bring up quick about this, kind of cool, is if you look at this, this is the way I'm turning my camera, and this is the opposite of what it started with. what's really cool is you can go to like the menu, and I think you might be able to do this on Switch as well, because I'm not sure if this was an exclusive feature to the Switch 2 or not. But what's cool is the thing I just found out you can do is the controls thing here. You change controls, and you see these things are like in red. Those are the things that I changed. So I just switched them to be the opposite of each other. You can like do some certain things. You can kind of tweak a bit in there, so that's pretty cool. So you can configure your stuff to work the way you want it to, and then of course save points, which I've never really used on Switch Online stuff yet. But yeah, so that's a cool feature you can do, and I guess I don't know if it's exclusive to this yet or not. I should probably look that up. I'll do that real quick here. Okay, so looking it up, no. That is not exclusive to this. The regular Switch got that too, which is good. The Switch 1 got it. But for settings here, one thing it did get is the CRT filter. You can turn that on. Apparently only the Switch 2 has that. I don't know why that is, but that is. And then the other thing is like you can do, you can remap, or you can do rewind, but for certain things, not like everything. I don't think GameCube games rewind. Some games you can do the rewind feature. Apparently that's also only on Switch 2. Okay, so let's just do a quick shot here. Not like it's like the most professional way to do this, but this is the CRT filter on. And, you know, it's a pretty subtle thing here, actually, so it probably would be fine. I wouldn't mind it. I don't think it adds necessarily anything, but if you did originally play this on a CRT, and you're like, oh, I missed kind of some of the fuzziness of how this looked, or you just like CRT filters in general, there you go. It's a kind of neat thing, I guess. I think for certain games it might be more useful, like NES, Super Nintendo games, where they can kind of blur some of the pixels a bit to make details look the way they used to look. That's probably a good idea. But for, you know, something like GameCube, I actually play a lot of GameCube stuff on a Wii mostly, so I didn't really play it on like a CRT at that point anyway. But it's nice to have the option for people that did, I suppose. So it's fine. It's an option. Okay, quick tidbit. I got Splatoon 3, opened the game up, and it started me in a different place because it started me in the main game, the main lobby, instead of the Splatoon 2 stuff, because that's in the DLC. And I didn't have the DLC also downloaded. It doesn't re-download that with it, so I had to go, and then it brought me into here, and I had to get the virtual game card thing to do it, and so now it's downloading that on top of this. So you do have to do that. So some of the re-downloading stuff is going to be a little weird. So I guess that's going to be another advantage of doing the transfer over. Though if you wanted to start over on any of your games here, you can download the game again on the same account, and then you can just go into your game and like be like, do you want to get the download this cloud data, or do you want to start new data? And you could start over that way if you really wanted to, I guess. In fact, I think the only thing they really sacrifice for stuff is like they don't have the IR camera on the bottom anywhere, so there's that. If you are a big fan of that, that's not here. So do with that what you will. And then you've got the sideways play as well, and I've never been a fan of this, mainly because like you look at this and it's like, okay, well this is like way over here, and these are still kind of cramped right next to each other. They didn't like give these enough space, so it's still all crowded in this little middle area. That frustrates me a lot because that's not very it's not very useful, I guess. It just doesn't feel comfortable to play that way. Same thing over here. Everything's kind of shunted over to this side, and then it's like you're reaching way over to hit buttons, and everything's cramped right there. So they didn't fix this issue, which is annoying. I do really appreciate that the SL and SR buttons are actually nicer buttons here compared to, like, you know, Switch 1 Joy-Cons have like the really tiny nubs on them, and they're pretty hard to hit. I'm this. I don't know. I guess I don't really have any complaints about this. Honestly, I'm thinking about it. Let me start that part over. Okay, I didn't totally awkwardly cut that. So here we got controllers. I think the only thing I don't care for, is the, I'm sure it's fine. Why did my controller stop working immediately after this video? I shouldn't set things on top of this either. I didn't put a screen protector on this because I've heard conflicting things about should you, and some people say you should, and some people say you shouldn't. Sorry that was longer than I planned on yapping, but there were a lot of things to cover. There's a lot of stuff to think about in ways to play and whatever, and I don't know, other things that you would, I swear I'm more than just a pair of hands. I am a person, I promise. I promise you. Oh, Sam behind the camera makes it weird because I and you are the same. Bye.